really like it when I can form a personal relationship with people like teachers. Like when I'm able to form a bond with my teachers, it engages me much more. I pay much more attention. I hold much more respect for them. Therefore, I intake what they say much more. So I think it should be less about holding such a professional relationship with your peers, but more about forming that internal bond that you have together where you can have little side conversations, or it can be something that's not always on topic about school related and you just talk about everyday life. I prefer that much better than just speaking as if it's a hierarchical like roles and positions.
Welcome back to another mini episode. We have a special guest today with us for our mini episode. Mandy, who are we talking to today?
You
Amani.
are talking to
Oh,
me. Oh, who am I talking to? I'm
No,
talking.
yeah.
Sorry, I'm talking
Ma-
to.
yes, Maddie,
Um,
tell us, who are we talking to today? Love this.
I'm talking to Aunt Mandy, I call her, and Amani, who I'm just meeting recently. And then you guys are talking to me, Madison Walkowiak. Um, you know, past intern,
Past intern, maybe future intern. We
maybe
don't
yeah,
know.
future intern.
yes. You had an internship and it just ended. Tell us what you did for your internship and what did you think now that it's over?
I did a lot of stuff. I worked for Aunt Mandy's 3 different businesses. I'm doing her podcast right now. I did her a lot of things for HPM Global, like the RFPs and the AVRs. And then I worked for her coaching business as well, and I helped take notes and listened into what she was doing.
All right. And tell everyone, where do you go to school?
I go to
And
Westlake High School.
so Westlake High School, and what do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be a meeting planner.
Why do you want to be a media player? Did you watch Jennifer Lopez in the movie, or where did this love come from?
Oh,
This
Amani, J-Lo. So that's old school.
It first kind of happened when I was just in the car with my mom. We were talking about what I want to do when I'm older, and my brother. And she was like, "Why doesn't anybody want to follow in my footsteps?" And I thought about it for a minute, and I was like, "Actually, I should because she has a pretty sweet job." And like, I worked for Mandy, and I actually turned out kind of liking it. So yeah,
All right, Mandy, where should we go from here? I mean,
Well, we didn't scare her away. Amani, this is a good, Maddie, it's good. Okay, do you prefer we call you Maddie or Madison as you're thinking about your professional persona? Which do you prefer?
Maddie, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Maddie, it is. I never went back to Amanda.
Yeah,
Yeah, I stuck with Mandy. I think Amani, if it's cool with you, I think having Maddie here is a real gift because you are a professor. You're making an impact on so many lives, so many students, but you also volunteer. And I think, you and I talk about this a lot offline, but I don't know if we talk about this a lot online about building the bench of your industry, and there's so many ways to build the bench of your industry. And I don't just mean in the hospitality industry. I mean, you and I cut our teeth there. So, of course, we know a lot about that. But anybody listening or watching, you have power and an impact in your industry too to build the bench of the industry. So, I guess, Amani, when I say that, like, what comes up for you? And I'm like, hey, like, how are we helping build the bench of our industry? What comes up for you when I say that?
well, funny fact, I did not know that your original name was Amanda. I don't
Oh,
think I knew that.
fun fact, Amanda, you'll love this. Amanda Kathleen Antoinette Kobasik, because that's my maiden name. So
Whew.
I'm Akak. Now I'm Akaj. But yeah,
Okay.
that's the full name.
All
Yeah.
right. All right. So I had to
Mhm.
say that before I forgot.
Okay,
And
good.
what that means to me is like we need some people to be coming up in the industry that are going to kind of take our place when it's time for us to retire and move on to our next kind of twilight career. And we also need people who are younger to help us understand how they learn, how they feel when they go to events, and it's just how they communicate. So we need to talk to the younger generation so we can understand and be able to meet them where they are.
Yeah. So I agree with you, and I'm curious because you are a professor, but you've been a professor a while. So how has the learning behavior changed? And then Maddie, I'm gonna follow up question with you. Like, how has the learning behavior changed? Like, how have you had to tweak your classes that you've been teaching based on how the students are learning?
I would say now I have to gamify things more. I have to accept the fact that most students don't want to come off their camera being muted on Zoom because they're over it. But then also we are part of like a lot of students who graduated this past semester started school during the pandemic or finished
Mm,
high school during the pandemic, so they kind of missed out on some important events, important socialization, just different things. So we have to keep that in mind as we try to meet them where they are in terms of learning. So a lot of gamification, a lot of group activities, try to make it fun so they're just less sitting because they don't like to sit still.
yeah. What do you find them gravitating towards the most? Like, what's something that you taught them that you're like, whoa, they were really interested. And I guess I don't want to make this all about education, but I'm thinking more about communication. Like right now we have 6 generations in the workforce and it's a constant effort and we all have to make the effort. Every generation has to make the effort to figure out the best way to communicate with each other. So I guess that's what I'm asking of, like, what is a way you've communicated with them recently and they totally grabbed onto it?
Um, I still go back to like when you have a lesson and then you have the review be like some sort of game. We use Kahoot a lot and they
Mm,
get to be real competitive and they like to do that. And then we also use another app. I'm forgetting the app we use where they review their vocabulary, but they review the vocabulary in groups. And so they get competitive about that. So anytime you can add gamification, but bring them into groups in person, that helps.
awesome. Maddie, how does this stick out for you? How do you learn? How do you prefer to communicate right now?
I really like it when I can form a personal relationship with people like teachers. Like when I'm able to form a bond with my teachers, it engages me much more. I pay much more attention. I hold much more respect for them. Therefore, I intake what they say much more. So I think it should be less about holding such a professional relationship with your peers, but more about forming that internal bond that you have together where you can have little side conversations, or it can be something that's not always on topic about school related and you just talk about everyday life. I prefer that much better than just speaking as if it's a hierarchical like roles and positions.
Mm.
So like a flat kind of thing. What's and you don't have to name a teacher, but like what's a situation that you've been in, if you could think of an example where somebody outside of your generation did a great job at building a relationship with you? Like what did they do? How did they do it?
I've had a few teachers along the years who I've been able to form a lot of connections with. One that was really memorable was in my sixth grade year, and she was like almost identical to my mom, and she was my math and science teacher, Miss Marion. And I loved her so much. And then I was actually her TA again in eighth grade year. So we really just had that connection where we were able to talk to each other about like random things that weren't school related at all. And then also in eighth grade year, I had another English teacher, and a lot of the kids would go into her room at lunch and just talk to her and tell her about all the drama or anything that was happening in school. And it was just because you liked her so much more as a teacher, therefore you paid more attention in her class and you held much more respect for her because you were able to form that personal connection with her. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Amani, it's just like what we're saying. It's all
Mhm.
about the relationships, man.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
asking questions, assuming nothing, and not being
Mhm.
boring and just getting to the meat of it, right?
I agree. I mean, you ever hear my Delta Lounge story? Did you ever hear the Delta Lounge story?
No, tell it.
Oh, it's kind of long, but I could tell you now. But
Yeah.
okay, so I'll tell you. You can tell me what you think, Madison. Like,
Yeah.
I had to fly in from Vegas to LA, teach my 11:30 class, my 1 o'clock class, then my 4 o'clock class. And I told my 7 o'clock class, I'm gonna have to teach you from the Delta Lounge next week because I gotta hop on a flight right after class and I don't want to miss it. So I'm gonna be inside the Delta Lounge teaching. So they said, okay, we're gonna be on Zoom. So I get to the lounge, get through traffic, get through security, 10 minutes to spare, get to the lounge. I open up the Zoom, everyone comes in. I say, okay, we're gonna talk for about 90 minutes. We have some activities, some group stuff, and then we'll be done. We'll be on our way. But before I could get started, they're like, Professor, show us the lounge. I said, what? You want to see the lounge? They said, yeah, show us the lounge. So I take my computer out on the Zoom and I'm walking through the lounge and they see the food. They're like, ooh, is that free food? You get free food there? I said, yeah. They said, how does it taste? I said, oh, it tastes pretty good. It's all right. They said, okay. Then we walked past the bar. They're like, what? You get free drinks there? I said, yeah. They said, Professor, do you have a drink right now? We won't tell. I said, no, I only have a lemonade. And then I show them the TVs, and then they're good. So then we finish class. Then we go to class. Then at the end of class, I'm like, well, I'll see y'all next week in person. Here's the homework. Thank you for participating. I'll see y'all then. They say, wait, professor, show us the lounge again. And so I said, really? And they say, yes. I show them the lounge again. They say, okay, you can get a drink now, professor. We won't tell. And then I show them outside where the planes are. And they're like, oh, the planes are right there. They're so big. And what that taught me and how I add this into my speeches is, first of all, you can't take for granted just the little things. Like, I've only been in the lounge for like maybe a year at most. But most of the students, first generation, if they've flown it, so they've only flown Spirit, no offense to Spirit Airlines, so they're just not used to that. So that's a good reminder to not take advantage. But to go back to what you said, Madison, they were so comfortable and so curious with me that they were like, oh, show us the lounge. And they were like into it. They were really into it. It was actually one of my favorite moments of the whole semester. That's my Delta Lounge story.
Yeah.
I love a Delta Lounge. But I do like that they were interested in your world. And how many people would just be like, let's get to class, kids. And you're like, all right, I'll walk around. I'll be that guy. I'll walk
Yeah.
around the lounge. And
Yeah, it was funny. It was great. It was funny. And I try to add that story to all my speeches too.
Maddie, I love this example. It's bringing something up for me about communication. So, what is something people of different generations are doing to communicate with you that you find lame or you find like impossible to connect with? Like, what's something you don't have to name names? We'll protect the innocent, but like, what's a no in terms of communicating with your generation?
I would say a lot of the differentiating social standards between the different generations, like when you talk to older generations, it is just a lot about that hierarchical roles where it's like, you're the teacher, you're the student, you hold respect for me. There's like, it's only school relationship, like that type of thing, for an example. Or I think it's just hard to communicate with older generations as younger generations, as the social standards and societal cues are much more different and diverse, because people in older generations are much more reserved, while people in, say, my generation are much more like flowy and loose with our conversations.
Mm.
And I think when you try to communicate and differentiate between the two generations, it becomes much more difficult because of the different social cues, and it just that makes it a barrier. It's kind of like a barrier.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. Interesting. And Mani, I know I keep asking questions. I'll zip it.
No,
You
no,
go
no. Well,
for it.
no, they're
Okay.
good. Like, what maybe through your internship, what was some things that you learned, Maddie, that surprised you?
Um, I don't want to say I thought I was gonna be more bored, because I knew I wasn't, but like it was an internship, so I knew it wasn't gonna be like fun and games all the time. But it was more fun than I initially perceived it to be, which I did appreciate. But I mean, also it was with Auntie Mandy, and you're naturally fun. But like
Fun. I'm a fun
it
girl.
did, it did kind of surprise me, because a lot of the times you have to work, and like people don't allow work and play to exist in the same environment. But at the same time, there was that, like for the coaching experience, I found that really fun to watch. And like sometimes I would forget to be doing my tasks because I would just get caught up in whatever she was saying, and I'd just be paying attention so well. So that kind of surprised me.
Okay. All right. All right. What about, like, now that you've had one internship with Manny, like, what would you like your next internship be? What do you want to study next?
I'd like to do the same thing, but maybe a little bit more complex, and maybe stay a little bit longer if she'll have me.
Mm. Will you have her, Mandy? Will you have
Of
her?
course. Yes. She's
Yeah,
welcome back anytime. We have to wait till our house is renovated so she doesn't have to sleep on the couch and work on the
that's okay.
couch. But
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. I'd love to have you back. I think it'd be great. I made an observation where so I have a question for you, Maddie. I should have asked you last week, but I didn't. So we did a marketing, Amani, we did a marketing mailer. I have like an 8.5 by 11 piece of me doing a
Oh,
karate kick. And
yeah.
it's got
Like your gift, like your GIF.
just like my gift, exactly. But it's got testimonials from happy clients on the one side, and on the back, it's kind of like a real estate mailer. On the back, it says different meetings booked. So it was like 300 people booked President's Club, St. Lucia. It had like, it was like a bingo card kind of thing. And then we sent it out to a bunch of companies in California, old school, like old school style. And so Maddie likes, and I had a fun like 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, like an eye catcher piece of paper on the inside. So Maddie stuffed all of those and then sealed them. And then it was time to address them. So I was like, hey, just address, address all of them. And she's like, but where do you like, how do you want it done? And I was like, oh, I'll just do an example. So I did an example. And then I thought about it later. I was like, I grew up writing
Mhm.
cards to people and mailing things. And it occurred to me, like, is that so? I have to question, was that the first piece of mail you ever sent?
No, I
Okay,
mean,
okay, okay. Do you
no.
send mail? Because you've sent me handwritten notes before, but like how often? Because like that was a generational thing where I'm like, I send things all the time. How frequently are you sending people things in the mail? I guess is the question. Because everything's online now.
It's definitely not very frequent, but whenever we used to do Christmas cards very frequently, I would do those. It's just it's not I don't do it so often that I have it embedded in my head, so I just
Yeah.
can't remember like where the area code goes, where the name goes, where this goes, where that goes. So I was just like, I need you to give me a little example.
Well, it was the example was perfect, but like I think Amani, I think this is a great example of like, let's not assume like something that we've done all the time, right? I think I started right. I was like writing things all the time by the time I was like 5, 6, 7. Like I might have probably done that 200 times by the time I was 15, right? Maddie might have done this 10 times her whole life because like your life is mostly online. So I think like, I just think as leaders, as we are, interacting with all these different generations, we can't assume our way is the only way. It's just the same as Maddie. You can't assume that your way is the only way too. Like we've got to be mentally nimble to be
Yeah.
open to these things. Cause that would like, I was just like, oh, I'll give you an example. No worries. And then it came back to me later. I'm like, oh, like this is something she doesn't do as frequently as I used to do, which then I was really excited that you got to do it. Which by the way, I ended up sending at the post office. So that was fun. And I was really bummed that you didn't have to stamp all of those. I had to do that myself. So I was bummed that that we didn't get to it. We did so much great stuff. We didn't get to it. So anyways, that was something that was interesting. And then another question I have is like communication. I find challenging a lot with, I'm Gen X and I'm interacting with a lot of Gen Zers right now who work at hotels. And I know like it's challenging because business response time is critical, right? And many people don't like to talk on the phone, where I find if I can just get somebody on the phone, I can get something done like super, super fast. So, which mode of communication do you like the most and what do you like the least? First question.
I like talking
Uh,
in person. Oh,
I can't hear you.
I can
Amani,
keep going.
you
Go ahead,
can?
Maddie. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I like talking in person. I prefer that because I think you can get much more efficient communication. You can cover more aspects of things and it can't be cut off so easily rather than like when you're calling somebody, I feel like sometimes you forget about it and then the call ends and then you have to ask again later. I prefer talking in person, but being on the phone isn't really a big issue for me. So I can like code switch between the two, but I do kind
Mm.
of prefer in person more.
So do you like texting, Snapchatting, Discording? What's like your preferred way? Like,
I do texting. I have Snapchat, but I'm not very active. I hate it when people snap me.
uh-huh.
I don't have Discord. That's more of like a platform where you watch people do things, I think. Texting is probably my main mode, but even then I'm not super responsive like 100% of the time, just because a lot of the time I try to be doing something. So, yeah,
Okay. And then what are like your favorite apps to use on the phone?
TikTok.
Okay. TikTok. Mandy, go
Yeah.
ahead. What were you gonna ask? Oh no, but we can't hear you, Mandy. So I don't
Uh,
know. We have the issue. So while we're working on Mandy's tech, what questions do you have for us?
Me?
There you go, Mandy.
I would say this might be switching topics a little bit, but what did you guys want to do when you like first got into school, maybe like college, versus what you're doing now? Like, how did it shift into what you're doing now based on what you wanted to do prior?
Mm. You want to try that one first, Mandy?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, go for it.
Yeah. I wanted to be a special ed teacher. I always wanted to be a teacher. I loved kids and I wanted to teach. I loved kids, but I never wanted to have kids, which was interesting. But I wanted to teach. And I ended up getting, I think when I was in, I'm trying to think about this. It was before college. I got my first sales job. Right after high school, before college. I got my first sales job at Quality Fitness for Women, and I sold health club memberships and I taught aerobics, and I fell in love with sales. And then I later learned, the more and more I learned, like, a good salesperson is an educator. So I got to, like, exercise my teaching chops by educating people. And then I did an internship, Rally by the River. I did an internship, a meeting planning internship when I was, I don't even know, like 19 or something like that. And I got exposed to events, and then I loved events. So, just sales, crowds, events, teaching, they kind of all culminated into this meeting planning thing. So
Nice. I think initially I was thinking about being a chef, but I decided I was a little bit too selfish for that. I can't cook for all those people all the time. So I went to school for hotels, but in school, I identified that I think I would want to be a DJ. It just took me a long time to go for it. It took me about 13 years to go for it. And then I never would have thought I would have been an author, never thought I would have been a speaker. So this is all new ground for me.
and the king of the entertainment. You're the king of that. You're the entertainment. You're creating all these amazing entertainment like educational programs for
Yeah.
students, which
Yeah.
I'm sure did you even think you would be
No.
doing that? I mean,
Nothing at all, nowhere near it. So it's all, there's a little picture I use. I can't find it, but there's a picture I use where you think your career, your life's just gonna be one straight line, but there's a lot of ups and downs and twists and turns. So I always try to share that with my students on the last day of class. And I never would have thought I'd been a professor either. I wanted nothing to do with being a professor.
because your dad was a professor.
Yes. And I was like, no, no, no.
And
But
here you
here
are.
I am. Yes, yes, yes.
The professor. Maddie, if you follow Amani on TikTok, he's the professor.
The professor. Oh, that's right. The professor. Yes.
Okay, I have a fun flash fire game I want to play before we ask her, and I'm sure Amani has the last couple of questions. So flash fire. Maddie, I'm gonna say words that our generation uses all the time, and I want you to say your equivalent. Okay, you ready?
Okay.
So rad or cool.
Cool.
Oh, easy. Okay. If I don't like something, I'll say boo or I hate that.
Okay.
What do you
What do you
say?
say?
Oh, that was one of the words. Ew.
Ew. Okay.
Yeah.
What about amazing?
Cool.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah. But
Okay,
like it differentiates based on tone. So there's a difference between like, oh, cool, and we're like, cool. Like, yeah.
Okay. What if you're like, oh, cool? What is that?
And then it's like you're bored with it.
Oh, that's like when I'm like, cool story, bro. That's where you say cool. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. What about thank you?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
What about lame? If I'm like, that's lame. What's lame to you? What do you say?
I feel like it could be called stupid. Like, oh, that's stupid.
Okay. And then one other thing, I noticed you say the word, it's not that serious a lot. Tell me about that. What does that mean?
I don't know. I just pick up random little phrases off of like other people. It probably just came from that. I say it a lot. I think it's a reminder to myself and a reminder to other people. Because like sometimes I get worked up over stuff, and then and then when I'm talking about it out loud or talking about it to somebody else, I have to like tell myself like it's not that serious. Or if I'm talking to somebody else about something, I just have to tone it down because I feel like a lot of people surrounding me take too many things serious, including me. And sometimes we just need a reminder that it's not that serious.
Got it. That's something I took away from having you there that week. I said it a couple times to Scoot. I'm like, it's not that serious. He's like, okay,
Exactly. It makes it better.
What about if like something suspicious? What's the word you use?
Like if you're calling something suspicious,
Yeah.
you're just like, that's weird.
Okay. Okay. All
Like
right.
what do you say, Amani? Sus?
I thought that's the word. You don't say that? Why not?
Because that's like what 10-year-olds say.
Oh.
Wow. Okay.
Don't be a 10-year-old, Amani. Don't be a 10-year-old.
I'm just right. Okay. Okay. Go ahead with the like. What would be our? I mean, you've answered all my questions. The final question, like, I don't know. Mandy, you go first.
Yeah, I'll have one. Amani, you have one. What is advice to other generations that are looking to hire you eventually, right? Like you're 15, so you're, 4 or 5 years away from full-time hire, being full-time hire. But like, what advice do you have for our generations when we're looking to recruit people like you to our industry or any industry?
I would say to get rid of like prejudice and stereotypes. Like the factor I've come across a lot throughout my life because I do perceive myself to be very ambitious. Is like when I try to do something, but people don't. Oh, I'm sorry. I just clicked something. When people don't allow me to do it because they think I'm too young or they don't think I'm capable enough, I don't appreciate that at all. I think people who are willing to hire you shouldn't look at what grades you got, what extracurriculars you in, blah 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 blah. How if you came up with a cure for cancer, because sometimes that doesn't define who you are. You can be an extraordinary, intelligent, capable human being, and sometimes places won't hire you or won't find you capable enough based on the materialistic accomplishments you've made. But I think accomplishments should go farther than just materialistic. Some of them are mostly non-materialistic. So I think a lot of the people who are hiring, a lot of I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but
Employers, yeah.
yeah, employers.
Yeah.
I think just to keep more of an open mind about the younger generation that we're in, because a lot of the people that I know personally, we might not be involved in so many extracurriculars, but I know me, like I'm personally extremely intelligent. But because I'm not in like an actual sport in high school. I'm in one club, but I still think that I'm capable enough to do a wide variety of things.
Okay.
I think it's like what comes first, the chicken or the egg. And Amani, I agree with this of like when we are hiring right now, we are looking, especially when we're looking at younger people, we're like, what have you done so far? It's like nothing. They're just getting started.
Yeah.
And I've benefited. Somebody took a chance on me 25 years ago at the Sheraton San Diego. I had no experience and I was from Ohio, and somebody took a chance on me because they like my energy, they like my attitude, and it's the best bet they ever made, right? But I think we get so like AI scanning resumes, and we just forget like to take a chance on a younger person. Like you might be that person they work so hard for, and you might be a life changer for them, but eventually they might be a life changer for you. So that's some good
Yeah.
advice, Maddie. I appreciate hearing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. My final question for you is just, what is the one thing that you're most excited about next year in school?
Aw.
I wouldn't say I like learning, but I like accomplishing things. Like I was talking about with Aunt Mandy during the internship. I am kind of addicted to that dopamine spike. And when I complete something, it really gives me that. I'm just excited because I'm going to go into more AP classes next year and more honors classes. And I'm just excited to accomplish them and hopefully end with all A's because that's what satisfies me most is just the validation that I get from that. So I think I'm more excited about just being able to have that experience at the end of the year. So I'm excited about the opportunities that could come that I'm not sure about right now. If
I
that
Mm.
makes
love
sense.
it.
Yeah.
Well, we
Okay,
want to
I know we said last thing, Maddie, but I just thought of something because
go ahead. Go ahead.
us advice. Maddie, would you be open to us ending with one quick piece of advice from both of us?
Yeah,
Are you
sure.
open to hearing that?
Yeah.
Amani, do you have a piece of advice to partake to give to Maddie before we go?
My advice would be maybe, what could I say? Maybe, well, it's more like join more clubs, maybe another club, like try something new in terms of a club. Maybe it's a sport you want to learn or like the chess club or something else. Just try something new to be with a group of people. That's my advice.
Can I cut in really quick?
Yeah.
What's hard about that for me right now in my school, particularly, I just had a conversation about this. It was a very long conversation. Is my high school personally is very competitive. So
Oh,
like I play tennis right now and I'm not competitive or anything about it. I just go out like multiple times a week and I go play with my dad. And I used to take lessons, but I just haven't had time recently. But I try to join the tennis team. And the tennis team's problem is they're all about that same stereotype. How many competitions have you won?
Yeah.
How many things have you done? It's like they only had a specific number of slots, and their team wasn't open to accepting members that their members could learn. However, like the boys lacrosse team, they had like 80 different kids. My brother joined it. He had no experience whatsoever, and he was able to learn lacrosse. But like I was refused from the team because I haven't competed in any competitions or anything like
Right.
that. So I think my high school personally is really competitive with a lot of that stuff, which is why it's hard to join, because a lot of kids have prior experience. And if you don't have that prior experience, it's either very uncomfortable, they don't accept you, or you're not allowed to join.
Okay. We'll have to make some adjustments and maybe find a club or something, but understood.
Yeah, or create your own group, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your advice, Mandy?
Can't beat them. Make it yourself. I want to go back to your dopamine spike of working hard is awesome and accomplishing things is awesome. And what is equally awesome is sitting in silence, having still moments, taking breaks, taking rests, because those are the times when you find yourself the most, right? When you spend time with yourself and finding that balance. And I wish somebody would have given me that advice. I've had to learn that in the last 10 years. I wish somebody would have given me that advice a long time ago to find that balance between that awesome ambition and carving out space for yourself to rest and regroup and, revitalize yourself. So that would be my best advice.
I was just doing that before this podcast. So
Good. Look at you, Maddie. That's amazing.
Love it. Well, for those of you watching, we want to thank our special guest for our mini episode, Maddie, today. Make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing on the platforms that you're watching or listening on. And with that, we will see you next time for another mini.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for being here. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Adventures in Business. Don't forget to rate and review our podcast on the platform that you're currently listening it on. And don't forget to share it with your friends and anybody that might be as much of the business nerds as Amani and I are. See you next time for another captivating interview.